What's wrong with rules? I mean, they are kind of important, aren't they? I mean, sit down to play a board game, and if you don't know the rules, it's kind of tough to play. We have all kinds of rules in society that help keep us focused in the right direction. If we don't know the rules, it causes all kinds of problems. But, I mean, then there's kind of, religious rules that kind of get really, a little like what you got to do, what you can't do, the wills, shalls, and musts. See, what happened is the synagogue leaders kind of got caught up in the rules and how important they were, and you got to toe the line. Well, I think actually this fella here, he might be able to help explain this better.
Now, men, there are a few things we ought to get straightened out right at the start to avoid any grief later on. Now, here at the Rock, we have two basic rules. Memorize them so that you can say them in your sleep. The first rule is, obey all rules. Secondly, do not write on the walls, as it takes a lot of work to erase writing off of walls.
Good old Deputy Fife. There was a rule follower. He lived for the rules. Kind of person that loved to walk around with a piece of chalk and draw lines so you didn't get on the wrong side and go the wrong way. Of course, typically almost every episode, Barney would invariably box himself in with these rules, and he would be trapped in some form or fashion. Sheriff Andy Taylor, of course, a different approach to things. Andy Griffith, who played Sheriff Taylor, in real life was a very devout Christian, and so when he played the character of Sheriff Taylor, he wanted him to do so influenced by his Christian faith. Barney was always drawing rules and regulations and pushing people into these boxes and saying you can't get out of them. Sheriff Taylor's approach to life and law enforcement was, well, let's find out. Let's get to know these people and find out why they've gone across the line. What's going on in their life? Synagogue leaders were caught up in this Barney Fife kind of mentality. Lines are there. You can't cross them. You do that, it causes all kinds of problems. See, the thing is, though, we go back to the Sabbath, back to Mount Sinai when Moses is handed the commandments. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Well, it kind of could be vague in interpreting that, couldn't it? Thankfully, people came along to define what God really meant. On the Sabbath day to keep it holy, you can do this, but you certainly can't do this over here. Unless, of course, this happens first, preceded by this, and maybe one of these. They created a whole complex system of boxes that turned out were really keeping people away from God. God doesn't put up rules to push us away. God comes to us, have an intimate relationship. From the very beginning, at creation, God created Adam and Eve, breathing life into our first parents. God came into the lives of Abraham and Sarah, bringing them children, descendants of a great nation. God came into the lives of Mary and Joseph. And through the waters of baptism, God has touched each of us and come into our lives. And when we come forward and receive the sacrament of communion, we receive bread and wine. We receive and touch the body and blood of Christ nailed on the cross for us. God comes to us to be intimate, to be a part of our lives. Not to draw lines and say, stand on the other side and stay far away from me, but with open arms to welcome and to embrace in his love and forgiveness. And we, as God's children, are called not to draw lines and put rules that keep people away from God, but to become the open arms, the welcome of God's love and God's forgiveness, helping others come to know this loving God. Amen.